And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Acceleracers Hub for another video. Hopefully you guys all had an absolutely awesome weekend. Today, guys, we have the next installment in the collection review series. I'm starting to run a little bit low on these collection review submissions, so if you guys want to see your collections featured on the Acceleracers Hub, shoot me an email with photos of your collections, a little background description on how you got back into collecting, XYZ, so on and so forth, and we will get you featured on the Acceleracers Hub because these collection review videos are a pretty big hit, and I always love recording them. They're one of my favorite videos to record. But for today, guys, we're reviewing the collection of a member of the community named PickyColt, who is also the creator of the Acceleracers masterpiece that is up on the wall behind us. So just for a little bit of background into PickyColt's collecting journey, he said back in 2005, he actually had a ton of the cars in 2005. He said his mother was awesome and hooked him up with about 32 of the 36 cars back in 2005. And that is a really impressive feat because back in the day, finding 32 out of 36 cars, that was almost impossible for a lot of people. Just because those later wave cars never quite hit shelves in some areas. You know, same thing with the Gen 2 cars. A lot of people got lucky to find Gen 2 cars in their area. But, and I don't really know as far as, distribution to, smaller cities, smaller towns went. Maybe, if you lived in a big city, you had a better chance of finding them. I don't know. I always only found, the most common 15 to 18 cars on shelves as a kid and never anything that was uncommon or rare. It just absolutely never appeared no matter how many times I checked. So huge shout out to his mom for hooking him up with 32 out of the 36. I wish I could have been his adopted brother. But anyway, so he had the 32 out of the 36 cars back in the day. And he also had, I believe he said 79 out of the 246 trading cards as well, which I think is a pretty similar number to probably what most of us had just from opening up our cards and getting the cards, But he said he also had, I think, 11 of the Highway 35 World Race cars as well as some Hyperpods too. But moving into about 2021, he really got back into collecting and started purchasing a bunch of trading cards. He bought a bunch of trading cards from me back in the day. And he's grown his collection now. I think he said the only carded car that he's missing for the Acceleracers line is Chicane. He's bolstered his Highway 35 collection as well. He's got an almost complete set of Acceleracers trading cards too. And I think he said in total over the last, year or so, he spent a grand total of roughly $2,000 sort of recollecting and getting a bunch more stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into PickyColt's collection. All right, guys, so here is the shot of PickyColt's collection. We have a ton of loose mint cars, carded cars, and the Acceleracers in the background. That is obviously the crown jewel of this collection. Let's take a closer look at all of these items. And let's jump right into these loose mint cars, guys. We have a whole army of silencers cars here. As you can see in the back, we have 2 Technetiums, then there's 2 Iridiums, a strip metal Gen 2 Iridium, then the Acceleron Cub Light, the Acceleracharged Anthracite, and a loose mint Cub Light in the front row. Those 2 Cub Lights look great next to each other. And then we have an army of loose mint Teku cars. And I misspoke earlier in the video, guys, when I said that a Chicane was the only carded car he was missing. I meant to say loose mint car because he has a loose mint collection. So look at all these Teku vehicles in the back, guys. Look at that. 2 team color Chicanes. It's hard enough to find one of those, let alone 2. Then we have a pair of baselines, a McDonald's baseline, a loose mint Spectite in the second row. Then we have an army of Drift Techs, both synchro variations and the starter set synchro and a reverb up front. Tons of Teku cars. And then we have the same story here with the Metal Maniacs, guys. Starting in the back, we have a pair of hollowbacks. Then we have 2 Acceleron hollowbacks. Then we have, Riveted, Jackhammer, Rolling Thunder, some of the more common ones. In the third row on the left, we have a Team Colors Powerbomb. I absolutely love the way this car looks loose mint. It probably would be one of my favorite Metal Maniacs cars when it's loose. Something about when it's loose just pops more than when it's in the package for me. Then in the second row from the front, we have 2 Spinebusters, a purple Spinebuster, the Acceleron Spinebuster, tons of Spinebuster love. And then, of course, in the front row, we have Pile Driver Heaven. I believe, just from this point of view, I believe the one on the left is the 2005 version of Pile Driver, and then the 2 in the middle are the Gen 2 Acceleracharged Pile Drivers, but I could be wrong. There may be 2 2005 ones, but I'm not 100% sure. And then, of course, we have a loose mint Flathead Fury on the far right. Tons of Metal Maniacs. And then moving on to the drones, guys, we have an army of drone cars in the back. We got RDO 1, a pair of RDO 2s, and RDO 3. Then we got a silver RDO 3 in that second row, and then 2 RDO 5s. It looks like one 2005 version, and then maybe a truck-in transporters version. I'm not 100% sure which one's which over there. But then we have both variations of RDO 6 with the deep green wheels. Then we got the chrome RDO 6, and then, of course, in the front couple rows, RDO 8, Gen 2 RDO 6, RDO 9, RD10, and then, of course, 3 drone Flathead Furies. Then moving on, we got some Highway 35 cars, including 3 Diora 2s. 2 of them still have the surfboards, which is no small feat based on how often I see those pop up on eBay without surfboards. And then we have some Road Beast cars here, including a Vulture, which is definitely one of the more expensive cars in the Highway 35 line at this point. And then of course we've got some Dune Rats, including 2 Crazy 8s. Naturally, one is missing the spoiler. That is just the way it goes with Crazy 8s. When they're loose, I'm actually more impressed that one has a spoiler than I am surprised that one doesn't. And then of course we have a El Camino up in the front. Moving on to some Hyperpod love, guys, we have the Slam Ram Hyperpod, the Carpoon Hyperpod, and the Octorod or Caterpillar Crawler Hyperpod on the far right. And that one actually looks like it's in very good condition compared to the one that I have loose. And then in the back, of course, we have the Dual Driller Hyperpod with the Acceleron Shredster, which is definitely one of my favorite cars in the line, even though it's technically not, an Acceleracers car, but it's still one of my favorites. And then we have all of the Gen 2 cars that he's shown in the other photos in one photo, guys. This is an absolutely wicked shot. The Gen 2 cars, I mean, there's something about Gen 1 cars all by themselves, in one big loose mint photo. But the Gen 2 cars might have to take the cake for the best looking set of cars when they're all together. I mean, you can't go wrong with those team color chicanes and then that army of drone flathead Furies up in the front. Who could possibly need 3 drone flathead Furies? And then we have some carded Highway 35 cars, and if I remember right, I think that ballistic in the middle is the one from the Zamac set. And then moving on to some carded cars, we have 8 carded Gen 2 cars, a drone ratified, a strip metal riveted, Team Colors Rolling Thunder, Accelecharged Battle Spec, drone Nitrium, Team Colors Synchro, Team Colors Rolling Thunder again, and another drone ratified along with a pair of carded riveteds. Definitely a pretty nice array of Gen 2 cars, honestly, a lot of uncommons and rares. And then moving on to the trading cards, he has an almost complete set of trading cards at this point. There's some duplicates in this photo, but just check out how wicked all these cards look all together. There's a bunch of foils mixed in here. I see a Vector Carbide, I see a regular Technetium, I see Spectite, Chicane, High Voltage, Torqued Powerbomb foil. There are just tons of rare vehicle cards in this lot. And then moving on to some Realms Accelechargers and mods, guys, including an International Edition Jump Jets down in the second row, 4th card from the left, guys. And I gotta say, as far as just the art and the coloring on the Acceleracers trading cards, they absolutely knocked it out of the park when they were designing these cards. They just absolutely pop when they're all together. And it's a shame there's not more posters going around, of just a compilation of all the trading cards in one poster. That would be pretty cool. And then moving on to his foils and rare cards, guys, as you can see, Torque Powerbomb, Vector Covlight, an International Edition RDO 1 version 2. Then we have an RDO 2 version 2, Feather Frame, a pair of Strato Thrusters, Fog Vision, the International Edition Jump Jets, which a lot of people use as a placeholder for the American Edition, or the English Edition, excuse me, because it is just so ridiculously hard to find. And then a pair of Reactor Realms, and one of those is actually available for sale. Then we've got a couple of International Edition cards, including the RDO 1 version 2 card down on the bottom left. And that is a foil card in the English edition. But it's always interesting to me that they didn't have foil cards for the International Edition. So it's just a regular trading card. I always found that interesting. And then, guys, we have a bunch of items here that are available for sale. He said he will probably be listing these on eBay sometime after this collection review video drops. So we have the carded Dior 2, carded Team Colors Rolling Thunder, drone ratified. And I think he said there's 147 total cards that are available for sale, as well as these loose cards up front. We have Dior 2 Slingshot, a pair of drone Flathead Furies, which are very desirable these days, and then an Acceleron Hollowback, and I believe that is an Accelecharged Pile Driver on the far right. So all these will potentially be on eBay before too long. And this, guys, is probably one of the coolest parts of his collection. He went snowboarding for spring break in Utah, and he actually, one of the runs is called Chicane. So here he is holding a chicane on chicane. Like, does it get any cooler than that? That is just absolutely full circle for us out there. So that is going to wrap it up for PickyColt's collection. Huge shout out to him for the submission. And like I always say, guys, if any of you want your collections featured on the Acceleracers Sub YouTube channel, use his pictures as a guide. Very well lit, very well spaced, organized. He gave me a great background detail on his sort of collecting journey, when he was collecting stuff, how much he spent. XYZ was really, really easy to record. So if you guys want to get your collections featured, take some photos, email them to me, and we'll get you on the Acceleracers Sub YouTube channel. But for today, guys, that is going to wrap it up. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Be sure to smash the like button for me. Subscribe to the Acceleracers Hub for more Acceleracers related content. And I'll see you guys in the next video on Wednesday. Peace out, guys.